What were the sexual education disaster stories from your school? A kid asked what popping a cherry was. And the teacher, who was a big burly idiot of a guy, bluntly said, when women lose their virginity, they bleed all over the bed. And cherries are red. Absolutely mortified expressions washed over the face of every girl in the class. And I vaguely remember one girl saying, "Not happening." Apparently some of them complained to their parents. And the next day he had to clarify. But with the most sarcastic "only some of them do" explanation. My mom was on the PTA at the time. Said some of the parents lost their speep. Another time, one kid asked why his balls hurt when he squeezed them. And he said, "Because you're squeezing them. Don't do that." Well, he wasn't wrong with that last part. Unless I am also missing some critical info. Catholic school was a trip. In 9th grade, they separated all the guys and girls in our year for sex ed. The guys got your typical Catholic school-esque sex talk about abstinence and going blind if you masturbate. While us girls got to go grocery shopping and bake cookies for the boys. We never did get a sex talk. And the next year, 4 girls got pregnant. The teacher set a dildo directly on the desk of the girl in front of me. And she bursted out crying and left the room. I believe that's called PTSD. The separated boys and girls. The teacher for the boys let us do open Q&A anonymously on index cards we put in a box, and he would answer them out loud. He spent most of the time going through them in front of everyone, going, "Not gonna read that one. Not gonna read that one. You come on, guys. If woman has starch masks on body, does that mean she has been parnet before? Am I pregnant?" We pretty much learned that the balls get hairy. That's all. Somebody asked how 2 women can have sex. The 60-year-old female health teacher told us that vaginal fisting is the standard method, complete with a demonstration for how to perform fisting. I have never once fisted a vagina. I must be doing lesbian sex incorrectly. Someone link me better examples. Becky, come over here. We been doing all of this wrong. My grandma is married to a woman named Becky, so I lolled extra hard. Once in 7th grade, a girl asked if you could get pregnant by a screwdriver. I think about that girl a lot. Well, can you? I found a rusty toolkit in my basement and I don't think I can afford child support. The teacher was just like hysterically laughing, and one girl goes, "Yeah. If there's sperm on it." So the conclusion is, don't come on a screwdriver and put it inside a lady. Guys are fine though. Not exactly sex ed because I had to go to a Catholic school. But all of us boys got banned less than 5 minutes into our puberty talk because 2 kids joked about a poorly drawn diagram of a penis. We were told we were gonna have the presentation at a later date. Never did. LMAO, I think they were just looking for an excuse. I don't know what they expected. This was in the late 90s in public middle school. The school held an assembly and brought in a group of these weird bodybuilders talking about sex and God. One of them tried and failed to rip a phone book in half. I don't remember much about it except they took a volleyball net and stretched it out so the holes got really big and said something to the effect of, "This is a condom." Imagine how easy it would be to throw a volleyball through that net. Not hard. Right? Well, condoms are made to protect sperm from passing through. But the AIDS virus is much smaller than sperm, and just like a volleyball through the stretch-out net, it can get through much easier. Undefined. If my children came home and told me about this, I would throw a fit. At my school, the teacher talked about anal sex to preserve virginity. And anal stimulation in men. Now I realize she was really open to a lot. One guy in my class kept fainting when he saw any private parts. So because of him we didn't get sex ed. Dumbass theory. Man was missing half his blood, so he kept getting a boner and then passing out from lack of O2 to the brain. They simply decided to stop teaching sex ed my year. No explanation. Once we even asked the health teacher, hey, are we ever going get sex ed? And she goes, do you guys really want to learn your vaginas and all that? Yes. We did. On a totally unrelated note, we had 6 student pregnancies in my last couple years of high school. And almost 10 more before the kids in my class turned 20. Wild how that happens. What a terrible teacher. The only sex education that we got in my school was a 2-week course during our biology class. I lived in a pretty conservative part of Texas growing up, so our sex education was basically just about abstinence and a few of the really gross STD pictures. Our biology professor showed us a live birth every year. The worst part is that it was a video of her giving birth to her son. I never want to think about my teacher's hoo-ha, especially while giving birth. My husband teaches high school. They get age-appropriate and comprehensive sex ed from around 2nd grade on. It's state mandated. Gladly. Because I'm sure my super conservative county wouldn't allow it. So, sex ed doesn't hold stigma in the presentation. Here's the curriculum. Here is why it's the curriculum. Teach it. However, if any of the teachers showed their own birth video in class, they'd probably be asked to resign. Show a birth video. By all means. But keep it professional and educational. Making an example of your own bits is super duper unethical. I remember in year 10 some people came to our school for sex ed. They put the boys in a separate classroom and then talked about how to use feminine hygiene products for an hour. To a room of 15 to 16-year-old girls. I later learned from my friends that to the boys they talked about nocturnal emissions. Great job. Whichever organization that was. Talk about shutting the stable door after the horse has bolted. The teacher forgot to put sound on for a birthing video, so he rewinded it. Watched a doctor shove a baby back into a woman's vagina by the head. I was born 9 times that day. The sex ed teacher had a bag full of goodies, as she put it. I pulled out a dildo and some kid said, "OMG, what is that? I swear I've seen one of those in my house." Undefined. That's so weird. TF did she want you to do with it? Class. Does this smell weird to you? Boys and girls were paired to put condoms on bananas. One at a time. Fun times discovering who was proficient and who less so. Immediate chaos as some of the girls turn out to be quite talented at it. I was trying to put the condom inside out on the banana. It wasn't working. And my partner puts her hands on mine and helps me fix it. I remained seated after class was dismissed. The sex ed teacher came into our class and was telling us how your testicles would shrink into your body or descend away from it in an effort to keep the sperm at a healthy temperature. A kid asked. So our balls have minds of their own? The classroom teacher, not the sex ed teacher, said reflexively. You can say that again. Most of the class didn't understand what the teacher meant, but one kid laughed so hard he threw up. Weird times. When we were in 8th grade, we had the sex ed teacher come in and talk to us. She showed a picture of a normal penis, like one of those see-through pictures that explained each part. Well, in that it showed the balls. The teacher explained what they do and why you need them to impregnate a woman. She asked if there is any questions. Suddenly my friend Alex raises his hand and asks, let's say that a boy only has one ball. Could I still have kids? And that's how we all found out Alex only had one ball. My school brought in Pam Stenzel. John Oliver did a bit about her once. She told all the girls in the audience that they are like a piece of tape and that the more time the tape was used they had sex. The tape would lose its stickiness, they would no longer be attractive to men. Basically said women who have sex outside of marriage are worthless. The crazier thing is this seemed normal at the time. God. What a terrible to teach young girls. We were about 15-16 yo, and our tutor, that weird chemistry teacher with jokes that aren't funny, came in the morning to our class. Gave out condoms. Started telling all about it, and then he opens a briefcase and puts a dildo on a front desk. The guy who was sitting there, Ukrainian and slightly homophobic, literally flew away to the back of the classroom on his chair. That's kinda hilarious and also tragic as hell. What were the sexual education disasters?